Thank you. Keep reminding me of that. What we're looking at today is something we've been dealing with a little bit of, but it's just solving systems of equations using substitution. So in the past, you've done with the graphing, which means you graph two equations down where they met, and that point where they met was your solution. And the point is always listed as an ordered pair, an x and a y. And so that's what we're looking for here. We're trying to find an x value and a y value that work in both of these two equations. So when you're doing this, first step, figure out which variable is going to be the easiest to solve. So which variable is already the closest to being by itself. So in this problem, that y is the closest one to being by itself. Why is that the case? Because it's the only one that doesn't have a coefficient. Okay, its coefficient is 1, so it's the only one that you can't see the coefficient. And so the easiest way to solve for it is just to get rid of the 2x. So let's do that. Now, y'all, again, you shouldn't be talking to people around you. You should be paying attention up this way. And when I say stuff, I don't need any extra noise expressions from that. Okay, so in this problem, the only thing I have to do to get y by itself is subtract the 2x from both sides.
The window.
What? I don't feel it because the other window's not up. So in this, we got y by itself. What's the next step we need to do? That's what we did. Okay. Yeah. Once you have solved for a variable, so you found the variable it's easiest to solve for, and you solve for it. The next step is you keep substituting back in the things that you know until you find the value for every variable. So, what we know at this point, we know that y equals 3 minus 2x. Okay, so what I'm going to do is in the equation I didn't solve for, so the second one, I'm going to replace that y with that 3 minus 2x. So I'm going to rewrite that second equation, that 3x minus 2y equals 8. But where it says minus 2 times y, I'm going to say minus 2 times 3 minus 2x. So I'm going to rewrite this equation, 3x minus 2, but we're going to substitute for y, we're going to substitute 3 minus 2x equals 8.
I don't try to do you.
Okay. So, what did I do at this point? I solved for y in that first equation, and then what I found y equal to, I replaced the y in the second equation with that. Okay? The point of that, the reason why I do that is so that I've now got an equation that only has x's. So the equation I wrote here has x's, and now I can find a specific value for x. Instead of like y was equal to 3 minus 2x, that's not a value, that's an expression. I want a specific value for x. So to do that, I do need to distribute. So I'm going to bring down my 3x and then distribute. Negative 2 times 3 is a minus 6. Negative 2 times a negative 2x is a positive 4x. And then I bring down my equals 8. Okay. So at this point, I don't have any parentheses left, so now I'm going to combine like terms. So I need to get the 3x and the 4x together, so I add those and I get 7x. Minus 6 equals 8. And 7x minus 6 equals 8. And then to get x by itself, I need to move the 6. So I'm going to add 6 to both sides. So 7x, the 6's cancel out, equals 14. And then the last step is to divide both sides by the 7. Okay. Y'all, this last little bit from about here down should be stuff that you should not have a whole lot of trouble with. Now, I'm not saying you know it perfectly, but it should be something that's getting a little bit easier for you. Because it's been done over and over and over again. Okay? So, as our answer, we now have half of it. We have the x part. We don't have the y value yet, but we're going to have to get that. We do have the x part. All right. I'm not moving it. I just get it for color. There. Now, to get y, what I said a while ago is once you solve for that basic one, the initial one, then you just keep plugging stuff back in that you know until you get all the values. And so now I know what x is. I know x is 2. So I'm going to go back up here where I already solved for y. I want to plug in 2 for x. So since I know x is 2, I'm going to go back up here where I've already solved for y. So I'm going to put y equals 3 minus 2 times 2. So I replaced the x with the 2 that we said x was.
My brain hurts. I'm trying to hold on to like, it's too much going on. No.
And then you just evaluate that, which is 3 minus 4. So y equals negative 1. Okay. And so my solution is the point xy, which is 2 comma negative 1. Yes.
Oh. We need you back here. Hey, Jack.
Okay. All right, now y'all look at this. Going back through the thought process again. First step is to figure out which variable is the easiest to solve for. And solve it. Get it by itself. So that's what we did up here in red where we got the y equals 3 minus 2x. Okay? From that point on, you take what you know and substitute it back in for things you don't know. So what we did here is we plugged in what y was equal to, and we plugged it back in here for y here. Okay? And we used that to find what x was. And so you kind of go through that process. Okay, we're going to try to do quite a few of these as we go through. including some of them as we go through will be part of what your assignment's going to be. So you're going to definitely want to at least be paying a little bit of attention. So let's do this one now. Okay, so here's our next problem. We're going to do the same thing. We're solving using substitution. Solving using substitution, and so I want to make sure that we're doing the same process as we did last time.
You know, you said you're 4 and 5, and you know I got to beat. You know I got to win.
I didn't give you anything.
Oh, you.
I don't assign any kind of. I just.
Can I go to Miss? Can I curse them out? They know I got to meet, and they know I got to.
You also know you have a meet, and you know not to be acting the fool in the last time. Then you talk to them at some point, but not in the middle of my class.
They don't want me to be great. I'm trying to make Bible But you know, I appreciate you because you didn't give me a 5 out of 5. I appreciate you. I don't like it. And if that's my cousin, I send some shit in the book. That's twice. Alright. I'm now listening because I'm not even there. Alright. What you doing? No,
All that
I'm
off task talk. I answered the question because I thought you actually had something about this question you could ask, and then you went off on a tangent. All right, here we go. So back to the question we asked at the beginning of the problem a while ago. What's the easiest variable to solve for in this problem? This time. Alright. So the x is the easiest one to solve for. And it's this second x right here. Okay, in the second equation. And so to do that, all I need to do is subtract 3y from both sides. So I've got x equals 7 minus 3y.
So you can't start with the problem.
You can. Here's the issue. If you end up doing that on the first one, there's multiple steps you got to do with. This one's only one step to solve. Okay. Now, if you do it the other way, your final answer should be exactly the same. So, if you choose the wrong variable to start with, don't stress over that. Okay, it's not the end of the world. It still works. There's just a couple of more steps you end up having to do in it. Okay. All right. So next step, we take what we know x to be equal to now, which is 7 minus 3y, and we plug it back into the first equation where x is. So 2 times 7 minus 3y minus 4y equals 24. Okay. All right. So this all we did on this step was we plugged 7 minus 3y in for x in the first equation. Next step, distribute that 2. 2 times 7 is 14. 2 times minus 3y is minus 6y. Minus 4y equals 24. Okay. All right. All we did that time was distribute the 2. Hey, y'all. Lots of noise. Sit down. Okay, at this point we want to combine your like terms. So those two there, so we got 14 minus 10y.
I know this is kind of a dumb question. Can you subtract those from each other?
What?
The like terms.
Well, it's negative 6 minus 4.
Okay.
So if you plug in negative 6 minus 4, it's negative 10. And so at this point, I would just have a calculator and type it in the way it says.
Okay, I'm understanding it a little bit.
Yeah, you only multiply it as if it's right next to each other, like the 6 and the y. That's a multiplication.
Oh, okay.
But because of that minus sign, it's a minus. All right. Now to get y by itself, I need to start out by getting rid of the 14.
Negative 14.
So subtract 14. That leaves you with negative 10y equals 10. Okay, and then the last step is to get y by itself. I need to divide both sides by negative 10. So y equals negative 1. Okay. All right. Now, you know what y is. Again, we go back to the statement of once you find something, you plug it back in for something you don't know yet. So I don't know what x is, so I'm going to use the y equal negative 1, plug it back in for y up there where we've already solved for x. So x equals 7 minus 3 times negative 1, which is 7 plus 3, which is 10.
How does it? What?
Negative 1 in for y. 7 minus 3. The minus 3 times the minus 1 is a positive. Negative times a negative is a positive. So negative and a negative, when you multiply together, it becomes a positive. But let's ask this. This right here, do you understand why it's written like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Calculator. We'll give you 10.
But how did you change it? How did you change the?
Okay. Here we go. Let's so if I just leave the minus sign there, what's 3 times negative 1? Negative 3, right? So then if I subtract the negative, it's the same thing as adding. So 7 minus a negative 3 is the same thing as 7. Right. So if that's something that you don't have feel comfortable with, then get that calculator out. I'm at this point, I'm not sitting here going, do you need to memorize this? No. All right. Other questions on this one? Okay, let me give you one to work for a couple of minutes anyway.
Are you gonna want us to turn this in?
No. These are your notes.
No, talk about what you're about to give us.
No.
You haven't frozen.
a few seconds to at least try to start this one. Need to write something down.
Can I do it on the okay?
Yes. Yeah, this is not turning any of this is just practicing stuff. So. Y equals x plus 3 and y equals 2x minus 4. Hey, you y'all, you should not be talking to each other about anything other than these problems.
I'm so lost. I'm so lost.
All right. Hey, y'all, let's go through the process. Let's talk through the process. What was our first step a while ago we talked about? Find the easiest variable to solve for and get it by itself. Okay, that was step 1. Now, which variable is the easiest to solve for here? Y in both of them, they're already solved for. You don't have to do anything, they're already solved for. Y equals x plus 3. Y equals 2x minus 4. All right? Everybody get that? All right, so number 2. Begin substituting what you know in to find the values you do not know. And you keep doing that till you find all the values. So, if you need to stand up to stretch, just step back that way so you're not in front of people. Okay. So, what we know is that y equals x plus 3 and y equals 2x minus 4. So the very easy thing to do is to take the 2x minus 4 and just replace the y in the first equation. So, here's your new equation. 2x minus 4 equals x plus 3.
Wait. Oh, what is that like that? My brain hurts. Why did they put the alphabet with the numbers? I'm already stupid.
Now, y'all going back to solving equations with just one variable, you have to get the variables together on the same side, and then you get the variable by itself. So in this problem, I need to move that x that's by itself on the right by subtracting it from the other side.
What class was learning this? That's not us. Not the second problem.
Oh, that's the three equations. That's the pre-AP variable.
Oh.
Now that problem actually is really simple if you can do it. But
I would make fun of it.
okay, so what I was just saying is I'm going to subtract the x. So 2x minus 1x is just x. Minus 4 equals 3. And then I just need to add the 4 to both sides.
Oh. Unless you complete it. So do we go back to the first? That was something.
Okay. So x equals 7. All right. Now, somebody just said, do we go back to the first one? You go back to whichever one's the easiest. And in this case, the first one is easier to deal with. So I'll plug the 7 in for that first x. I have y equals 7 plus 3. So y equals 10. I know that, which is why we'll do a few more over today and tomorrow. And I'm actually going to have some of y'all come to the boards. And I may have like 4 of y'all working a problem at the same time up on the boards, and let's see how you do it and what goes on with it. All right, so my solution is the point. Oops. Is the point 7, 10. So this here is my answer. And remember, when you're putting these points, it's always x comma y. So x always goes first, y always goes second in your parentheses. And this is the answer I'm looking for. Okay, you will not get full credit if you put just x equals 7 and y equals 10. You need it in this point form, ordered pairs. Okay, so here's where we stand. Oh, hold up. Let me get y'all's period here real fast. Okay. On your agenda. On your agenda under homework, it says problems 25 through 39. Y'all, stop talking and listen first. Let me talk, and then if you got questions about it, you can talk to me. Okay? Problems 25 through 39 due before the bell ringer on Thursday. So you've got 2 days to be working on this, and we will have some time in class tomorrow. Plus, you have about 8 minutes to do 1 or 2 of them now, and you've already done number 25. Okay? No, that really wasn't. It was more for what we're doing in class, but it was your first problem on your assignment. So these 1, 2, 3, 4, 15 problems is what you need to have done before Thursday. Now, Shaquita, game or not, if there's homework, that doesn't get you out of it. So don't holler, I got a game. I know you got a game. I'll be there, yeah. So I don't need you to holler it out at me like that. No, if you're going to be rude to me, I can be rude back. All right. Jasmine, hush. All right. If you don't have access to a computer, it would probably do you well to come take a picture of this or write these problems down, something. Okay? If you don't have access to internet at home, maybe work to take a picture of it, write it down or something.
Where?
Right here. What you doing? I'm too close. I ain't got no school, so I got no Snapchat. What we gotta do? We gotta do 25.
25 through 39.
I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm not. I need.
Come on,
Brenda.
come on, let's go.
Miss Brenda. I'm just playing. I don't.
Did I say
She goes up for the fire.
Dad, you know I said holler. She never asked me if she has any attention because she hollered out that I said.
And I you know, I'm missing on Friday. On a Friday. You know, I'm collecting on my wall. I don't throw my ring.